Reaction to the story, it's still Kevin Durant. And as of right now, Kevin Durant, he's still a member of the Brooklyn Nets, so we have to bring in the most plugged-in man in the business. It's senior NBA insider Adrian Wojnarowski for our daily update here. So, Woj, just what is the latest on KD here?
Malika, I think the Miami Heat have been certainly one of the most determined teams to try to acquire Kevin Durant since he asked for that trade. And, you know, they've talked to Brooklyn here in Las Vegas. And ultimately, for Miami and Brooklyn specifically to do a deal, they're going to need a third team, perhaps even a fourth team. There's really not a one-on-one deal they can do. Bam Adebayo, Ben Simmons can't be on the roster together based on their contracts. And so they're going to need to be creative around the league to try to find a pathway to a deal. But teams like Miami, you know, the question they have to ask themselves, are asking themselves is, you know, how much do we give up that if we bring in Kevin Durant, are we a championship contender? How much of your infrastructure can you gut? Brooklyn's asking price is steep. Brooklyn continues to talk to a number of teams here in Vegas, no closer to a trade for Kevin Durant. But I think especially teams like Miami, Phoenix, who need help. They don't really have a one-on-one pathway to do a deal with Brooklyn. That makes it more complicated. You know, the Toronto Raptors, Scotty Barnes continues to be a non-starter for the Raptors in any Kevin Durant discussion. And so there's certainly been no progress there with Toronto. I think for right now, you know, this is a process that's going to continue and may continue beyond Summer League.
It's a process, but we know, as you reported, Miami and Phoenix, two of the teams that Kevin Durant initially expressed interest in going to. And then the other domino is Kyrie Irving. What can you tell us about where the plan stands with him, Woj?
Yeah, the plan is to handle Kevin Durant first and try to figure out whether it's a trade for Kevin Durant, whether it's Kevin Durant possibly returning to Brooklyn if they don't find a trade. But I think Brooklyn's they had a conversation with the Lakers. They touched base last week, but there's really been no expansion on that conversation. I think both sides know where each stands on it. And I think right now Brooklyn's focus is trying to handle the Kevin Durant talks first and see what it looks like if Durant is traded or if Durant comes back, and you look at potentially having both Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving under contract with the Nets to perhaps at least start training camp. But this is a Nets team that's been, you know, they've been working with Rich Kleiman, Kevin Durant's business manager, you know, about possible scenarios, teams that interest Durant. But again, with 4 years left on his contract, Brooklyn can trade Kevin Durant anywhere they'd like.
Well, today, in this moment, perhaps Kevin Durant could at some point be that first domino to fall, and then we will see what happens with Kyrie Irving. Woj, thank you so much for your time and for your reporting. We still have so much more to come, though, on NBA Today. Woj, she's coming back, don't you worry, with the latest on the regular part of the future league. Why is the play-in going to be here to stay?
And Malik, listen, I think ultimately, a couple things. The league believes it can be a moneymaker for them long term, and that it's helped. I think it's deterred on some level tanking among teams. It's kept more teams and more markets involved in the postseason chase. Obviously, teams 7 through 10 in each conference compete for the 7th and 8th spots. And I think what the league also found in the first couple of years, teams that are marquee level teams like the Lakers or Golden State Warriors, who in a season are not among the top 8, it gets them the opportunity to get into the postseason. So it's served a variety of, I think what the league feels are positive roles in the league, and that it is going to become a regular part now of the league calendar. The last couple years, it's been voted on, you know, to try it another year. But now I think with the play-in tournament, I think getting voted in today as part of the regular calendar, the next conversation is going to continue to be about the in-season tournament. Now, 2022-2023 season, too soon for that, but it is potentially possible that 2023-24 season, that's probably perhaps the first season that we could potentially see the in-season tournament. But there's still a lot more conversation that's got to go on about it, and that certainly would be a significant change to the NBA calendar.
Well, and those discussions we certainly expect to continue tonight. What other rule changes could we expect to see made?
Yeah, another rule that's expected to get approved by the Board of Governors today, the take foul in transition. Now the offensive team would get not just an out-of-bounds play on it and the foul call, of course, but a free throw. And that's something that the league's competition committee, it's worked its way through there, and there seems to be plenty of support to change the rule on that.
Interesting. Woj, thank you so much for your reporting there.
Okay.
I do want to bring back our entire panel here, Zach Lowe, Kendra Andrews, and Kendrick Perkins. Zach, we're going to get to the take foul in a second, but what's your reaction to the play-in tournament being here to stay?
Play-in tournament is a home run. It's absolutely worked as advertised.
Yes.
The games have been often very exciting. It has made more teams stay in competition mode late in the season and cut tanking a little bit, at least in sort of that middle tier. It's also created kind of a very exciting race for the 6th seed to stay out of the play-in tournament, for the 7th seed to get home court in the play-in tournament, for the 8th seed to have 2 chances to win 1 game and in. It's created all these little sub-races in addition to the big issue of sort of disincentivizing tanking a little bit. I think it's a home run. It's a no-brainer. Applause to the NBA. They got this one right.
Kendra?
Well, from who I've spoken with, mostly the Warriors, but they're big fans of this. Steve Kerr always points to the fact that they were in the play-in game just a couple seasons ago, and yes, they lost that game to the Memphis Grizzlies. But the way that Steve Kerr talks about it, he says those were kind of like playoff games, and they gave our younger players like Jordan Poole that year the experience of then how to handle himself in the playoffs. So the Warriors are big fans. A lot of other coaches are also big fans of this.
I'm a fan of the play-in tournament. The one, like, I don't want to be the Debbie Downer perk. The one thing I kind of go back and forth with, and the other thing is it has, remember, LeBron James initially, he was a little bit skeptical of the play-in tournament. It has garnered the support of a lot more players over the course of time as they were able to see it play out. The one thing is the first year they had the play-in tournament, it was a little bit different when it was in the bubble. They were still tweaking, they were still playing with things, but teams that are so far below 500, should there have to be a certain separation potentially with those bottom teams that are racing toward the play-in tournament versus anyone in the top number of seeds? If you're looking at the top 10 seeds and you're in versus if there's this huge separation, should it be there, Perk?
Well, I can see your point. I see your point. I see what you're saying. But you know what? I think when you look at the play-in tournament, to take it a step further, I see accountability, right? I see accountability in holding teams and organizations accountable, not just for tanking, but for load management, right? Because now every game matters throughout the season, whether it's late in the season or at the beginning of the season, because those games could come back and hunt you, which could knock you out of the top 6 seed in either conference. And here it is, right? It's a shame that you actually got to get to this point because guys get paid so much money to go out there and perform every single night. And guys that paved the way for them, like Charles Barkley, Michael Jordan,